The gleaming body of the soldier ant moved confidently along the length of the suppressed Swedish K submachine gun. The predator's head twitched incessantly from side to side, mandibles opening and closing, and with its antenna in constant searching motion for unseen threats. The ant showed no fear as it stepped from the cold woodwork of the weapon onto the warmer flesh of Master Sergeant Dick Meadows' hand. It hesitated as it encountered the fine human hairs, but sensing no threat, it delicately picked its way through. Meadows's cool blue eyes flicked back to the trail in front of him, and he considered the situation yet again. Damn it, why couldn't he shake off the feeling of guilt? It was his selfish motive that had put RT Ohio into this tight spot. 2 days ago he could have gotten them all killed. Sure, the briefing had been dressed up in fancy words, but the message was clear. Prove that the North Vietnamese Prime Minister Pham Van Dong is a liar. 4 other teams had attended those briefings at Kontum in early June 1966, and although he couldn't be sure, it was likely that they had similar missions. Why was it that he had this burning need to be the one to succeed? Pride? Sheer cussedness? It made no difference who brought back the proof, if it existed. They were all in the same war. He sighed deeply. He still had to prove himself to himself, even after all these years. Colonel Singlaub had been surprised when Meadows had asked for his team to be inserted into a recently bombed area, knowing that it was most likely to contain roving pockets of the enemy, who would be feeling secure. After all, lightning was unlikely to strike twice in the same place. They would assume that the area would be left alone for a while. There had been no mistaking the urgency of the mission. Colonel Jack Singlaub, chief of SOG, Studies and Observation Group, had taken his instructions directly from the Pentagon. It was June 1966, and for many months Pham Van Dong had been proclaiming to the world that no North Vietnamese regular soldiers were in South Vietnam. This was simply a peasants' revolt against a corrupt government and their aggressive American allies. It was none of his affair. General Westmoreland knew better, but he had no proof to put before the cynical congressman in Washington, D.C. Without hard evidence, he had consistently failed to get permission to relax the rules on conducting bombing raids and artillery strikes into the DMZ. In his view, this was critical to winning the war. More important, he sensed that the NVA was preparing a major offensive, and many front-line American positions were undermanned and ill-equipped to withstand determined assaults. He needed more troops, and fast. A slight tickle at Meadows's wrist made him look down. At the cuff of his baggy shirt-sleeve, the ant had paused to contemplate the dark tunnel, made up its mind, and begun to enter. "That's enough, soldier boy," murmured Meadows, as he reached over with his right hand to gently grasp the 3/4-inch-long insect behind the head. The movement was unhurried as he deposited the invader on a length of fallen bamboo and watched it scurry on its way. The small movement caused his own body odors to reach his nostrils, and he smiled. There was no doubt that he stank in a very satisfactory manner. He smelled like his surroundings. There was no trace of soap, no toothpaste, no alien food smell, and no sign of the preservatives used in the pre-issue storage of his uniform. The whole of his group would be the same. They had stopped washing the day before they infiltrated.